what I wanted to talk about working on this comic page is two things. One, using Graytones. I've mentioned before, I don't use color on my comics. I do the covers in color. I don't do the backgrounds in color, the pages in color. I did mention I someday may come back and color these in, but my comics are black and white. I really like the black and white, but what I do is add Graytones into the comic just to add some variety. I feel like if you have all white lines, I mean, look how busy this can get with all these lines on this this building here, and then even in the mountain, all the detail lines there. By adding, you can imagine, actually I'll turn it off and we'll see what it looks like. Now there's no distinction between the building coming out of the mountain and the mountain itself. You can see how much more interesting that looks just by turning the Graytones on. And I did mention I do use 3 Graytones. I keep them up here so that I could just pick them easily with the eyedrop tool. And I keep 3, like a light, a medium, and a dark gray, and I just use them where appropriate. So I wanted to talk about where I would do that for the remaining part of this page. Most of the areas have been pre-selected; they're in there. But and the second thing I wanted to talk about was adding detail. So now the page is getting to the point where it's getting close to being done, and I'm going to start adding the detail into the page. Another thing I do is add white screens, because I do a lot of drawing the full image. For instance, all the backgrounds are fully drawn, and then you put the characters over it. Now, let's say I wanted to shift this character in the panel. I don't want to have drawn the character here, and then I only drew the part of the desk that he wasn't blocking. By drawing the whole desk in the background, or the whole TV on the wall, or the door in the background, if I want to move that character around, it's already drawn. I just slide the guy over. I just use these screens to separate the character from the background. So that's where lines, layers, and layer order come into play. So the captain should be in front of the background. The background's the throne room background is is at the bottom of the layer. If you're familiar with Photoshop, you can't see my layers here. The layers at the top are above, and the layers at the bottom are below. And so, just look at it as each layer is above the one below it. If I have the captain here, I'm going to create a layer of screen where I could now go ahead and fill in the character to separate it from the background. You can see the desk behind him is in him. So I'm going to change to a white pen. A lot of times I will use the polygonal lasso and just select the area and go ahead and click around, and then I'll end up filling in with the paint bucket because it's much quicker. Plus, when you already have a white background, it's much harder to see if you're already coloring in a white area because it's already white. I guess I could turn off the white background layer and just get the checkerboard, but that would you don't necessarily need to do that, as you can't see. I do have a ton of layers in this drawing already, so going ahead and finding each layer that I need to turn off is a bit tricky. My next page I'm going to work on, I'm going to clean up the layers because I think I went a little overboard with the number of layers I have. If I hadn't mentioned this before, what I tend to do is I go ahead and I take the previous page I worked on and I copy it, and then I use it for the next page I'm going to work on. So page 1, I do a save as, call it page 2, and then a lot of times I don't remove all the layers before I start the new page because a lot of the layers get repeated. I do delete a lot of things, but I don't necessarily delete all the content, all the layers. So I think I've done enough pages in a row where it's gotten a little out of hand, and I'm going to have to go and clean it up and almost start from scratch, except for this stuff that's in my template already. I have a ton of layers already built into my template because I use all the time. An example of that is the word balloon layer, which already has its stroke settings on, the panel layer, which also has a stroke layer. Okay, so go on ahead and use the marquee tool, the polygonal lasso, to select all of the area. One more piece here is teeth. We're going to add to that. And it's not grabbing. There we go. Okay, and then now I can just fill that in, and I will separate the character from the background. Thanks for watching this edited clip from my latest live stream. I stream Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Central. Go ahead and click the subscribe button and notification bell to get notified when I go live. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.